guys, what's up? It's Isaac here, and today we are finally back with Down the Road. I'm super excited to film more episodes, and it's just going to keep on coming. So today, in episode 9, we're going to be going down the road of the Nexus devices. Let's do it. Alright, so the Nexus devices have been out for about as long as the Samsung Galaxy S devices, since 2010, so, but how have the Nexus devices evolved? Here we go. So, the original Nexus was called Nexus 1. So the Nexus 1 was released on January 5th of 2010, and the Nexus devices have always been pretty much, well, Nexus, the line was made by Google. The whole Android thing was made by Google, but, Google usually partnered with a certain company to make a Nexus device. So the Nexus 1, they partnered with HTC to make this one, and it was pretty cool. I have something that's sort of similar to that, but competes with another HTC phone called the HTC Hero. I have something that kind of competes with that right here, and it just went off. This is the Samsung Moment. So this kind of competes with that phone called HTC Hero, and it looked kind of similar to the Nexus 1, but the Nexus 1 didn't have a keyboard, neither did the Hero, and the Nexus 1 was a flagship where neither the Hero nor the Moment were. So, yeah. And then less than a year later, we got the Nexus S. So the Nexus S was released on December 16th of 2010, and this one wasn't made by HTC, it was actually made by Samsung, and Samsung was really willing to go into this. The Nexus S, it was kind of similar to the Nexus 1, but with Samsung's design, it looked a little bit different. It had this more kind of like a curved design, and it was different, but, like, it was sort of similar. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but, it was similar, but also different in the same way. I don't know what I'm saying. but yeah, so, yeah. And then, less than a year later, we get the Galaxy Nexus. So the Galaxy Nexus was released on November 17th of 2011, and as you can probably tell by Galaxy, this one was also made by Samsung, and this one was actually released one day before my youngest brother was born, so that is really interesting. But anywho, the Galaxy Nexus was a little bit more of a curved design than the Nexus S or even the Nexus 1. And it was one of the first phones with Android 4. So besides or was it still Android? Or is it still Android 3? No, it was Android 4. It was Android 4, but Android 3 didn't last very long. But yeah, it came onto Android 4, and it was pretty interesting. How the Nexus S came to be. And then, about a year later, we got the Nexus 4. So the Nexus 4 was released on November 13th of 2012, and the Nexus 4 was not made by Samsung nor HTC. It was actually made by a new company. It was actually made by a different company that never made a Nexus before, and that was LG. Now LG was definitely a way different design. It looked kind of similar to the Galaxy Nexus, but it wasn't as curved. And it was the first Nexus with a glass back, and the Nexus 4, it was about the same size as the Galaxy Nexus, but it ran Android 4. It ran Android 4, and yeah, and then about a year later, we got the Nexus 5. So the Nexus 5 was released on Halloween, October 31st of 2013, and this was also made by LG. So It ditched the glass back, but the Nexus 5 was probably one of the most popular Nexuses. Maybe even the most popular out of the whole line. But the Nexus 5 was really at a budget price. Nexuses were really meant to be at a budget price, so and the Nexus 5 was pretty good. It was a little bit bigger than the Nexus 4 was, but like I said, it ditched the glass back, but I guess that's kind of a good thing because I increased the durability. Like I said in my LGG series down the road video, episode 6. If you didn't check that out, I'll leave that in the description. But yeah. So and anyways, and then about a year later, we got the Nexus 6. The Nexus 6 was released in November of 2014. I don't have the exact date. I don't know why that I looked it up. And there was no exact date, but November of 2014. And this was also made by a different company this time as well. This was made by Motorola. So Motorola had never made a Nexus before, but Motorola was into like the Droid line with Verizon and everything with like. Well, at the time they had like the Droid Turbo and stuff. They were bringing that out, and they had all that stuff. But the Nexus 6 was huge. Like it had this massive 5.9-inch display, and it was really, really insane how big it came from the Nexus 4, which I think the Nexus 5, or sorry, not Nexus 4, Nexus 5. I think the Nexus 5 only had like a 4.5-inch display. This one had a 5.9-inch display. That's actually a slightly bigger screen than the Galaxy S8. Not the S8 Plus, just the regular S8. It actually does have a bigger screen. Actually, it did have a slightly bigger screen than the iPhone 10 does, and which is insane. But yeah, and then a little less than a year later, we got the Nexus 5X. So the 5X was released on October 22nd of 2015, and the 5X was made by LG, so they kind of went with it, but it had a few new things. It was meant to be the successor of the Nexus 5, even though they were dropping out the 6 as soon as they brought up the 5X. But the 5X added a few things that the 5 or the 6 didn't have, like fingerprint sensor, as well as Android 6? Was it Android 6 or was it Android 5? No, it was Android 6, yeah. It was Android 6 that the Nexus 6 had Android 5. But yeah, it came out with Android 6, and it had a fingerprint sensor and new camera and a lot of other features. And then actually a month before the 5X came out, the 5X was meant to be the cheaper variant out of 2015 Nexuses, but about a month before the 5X came out, they released another one called the 6P. So the 6P was released on September 29th of 2015. And the 6P was not, and you might guess with the 6 it would be made by Motorola, but it was actually made by another company that had never made a Nexus before, and that is Huawei. So Huawei was making the 6P, and Huawei did a pretty. So that's just great. So my memory card ended up running out of space, so I have to record the rest of this video over again. But yeah. About a year later, we got the Google Pixel and Pixel XL. So the Pixel and Pixel XL were released on October 4th of 2016, and they were a drastic change from the 5X and the 6P with the design. I mean, they still had bezels and stuff, and Google had dropped the Nexus line, and the Pixel and Pixel XL were just made by Google. They weren't Nexus at all, but they still kind of carried on with the Nexus name a little bit. But the Pixel and Pixel XL were definitely probably the best looking devices out of the whole line, but but yeah, and it came with Android 7, with the new software, and yeah, and then in a few days we will be seeing in stores. We will be seeing the Google Pixel 2 and the Google Pixel 2 XL. These names are getting ridiculous, but yeah. So these phones will be coming into stores on October 19th of 2017, and it's gonna be pretty cool. But yeah, it's gonna be yeah. I mean, the Google Pixel 2, the regular small one, isn't gonna be that much of a change from the Pixel. The Pixel 2 XL is gonna be the big change here. It's gonna have the bezel. The bezel is just like the S8, so it's kind of gonna compete with the S8, if more the S8 Plus. But yeah. Anyways, so that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hoping my memory card doesn't run out of space again. That sucked. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.